What is going on, Trash Talkers? We are back with another episode for you. In today's video, we're going to react to Todd McShay's Mock Draft 2.0. All that and much more coming your way right now! All right, Nick, it is that time of year, mock draft season, 'tis the season, and now we have Todd McShay's Mock Draft 2.0. For you guys at home watching this video, just know this is the first time that we have seen this. We have not gone through it, so you will see our true organic reactions to these picks. I'm really excited. Nick, why don't you fire it up and let's take a look at who the Jacksonville Jaguars select while they're on the clock.
All right, so it looks like Todd McShay for his first pick has the Jacksonville Jaguars getting Evan Neal. This isn't really a shocker. A lot of people seem to have Evan Neal with the impeding free agents on the offensive line. They really need to try and keep Trevor Lawrence protected.
Yeah, I like Evan Neal a lot. I think he would definitely solidify this offensive line. They have some work to do with the interior with Norwell and AJ Cann being free agents, but Evan Neal would really open them up to be able to protect Trevor Lawrence. At number 2, we have the Detroit Lions on the clock, and as everybody suggests, Aiden Hutchinson, the best player, the top-ranked player, as Todd McShay says in his description. Aiden Hutchinson will go to the Detroit Lions, and honestly, he fits their scheme extremely well. He is a guy who can put a hand in the dirt and really solidify the edge. He's going to work very well in Dan Campbell's system, and on top of that, a Michigan boy playing for the Detroit Lions doesn't get much better than that.
Yeah, I think Aiden Hutchinson's a quality player, and I really like him getting to stick around in Detroit. It's the same old, same old. We all want this to happen. But moving over to our third pick, the Houston Texans, Todd McShay has them taking Kyle Hamilton. I don't understand this at all. Kyle Hamilton is a solid safety, but you already have Justin Reed. I don't know why you need to get Kyle Hamilton to pair with. You really need to make sure that Davis Mills has the weapons necessary or get a bigger playmaker on the defense if you want to go that route.
Yeah, I do not like the pick here of Kyle Hamilton at all. I believe that the Houston Texans have much bigger needs, especially when you take a look at that defensive line. Kayvon Thibodeaux would have been the easy selection here, in my opinion. When you take a look at the players that the Texans have lost over the last couple of seasons, no Jadeveon Clowney, no J.J. Watt, insert Kayvon Thibodeaux. I feel like it's not that hard. This is where we see guys like Todd McShay just overthinking it and just trying to create change for change's sake. Stick with what you know. Kayvon Thibodeaux would have been perfect here for the Texans. At number 4, the New York Jets are on the clock, and we see them taking Ike Ekwonu, the offensive tackle out of North Carolina State. This guy is an imposing force, absolutely dominating, and he is just a massive body. If you pair him with Mekhi Becton as bookends for this Jets offensive line, good luck getting anybody around these edges. It is going to be a massive, massive issue for opposing defenses. I like the pick for the Jets here. I think he would fit their scheme extremely well.
I like the pick, but Kayvon Thibodeaux is still available, so why would the New York Jets, who need an edge rusher, pass up on that man? Makes no sense to me. Moving on to number 5, the New York Giants, finally, Kayvon Thibodeaux to the New York Giants. They just got Wink Martindale to be their defensive coordinator. I think that's a great pairing. You saw what he did with Odafe Oweh last year. Looked like he might have been Defensive Rookie of the Year for a few weeks.
Yeah, and on top of that, they still have Azeez Ojulari, so if you have Ojulari, Thibodeaux, and all of these other guys, Leonard Williams locking it down, it is going to be one hell of a defensive line for Brian Daboll and company. I really like Kayvon Thibodeaux, and honestly, this might be the Giants' wet dream if Kayvon Thibodeaux were to fall to them. At number 6, we see the Carolina Panthers taking Ahmad Sauce Gardner, the cornerback out of Cincinnati. This guy has been ranked as either the 3rd best corner in the draft or the 1st best. There's a really wide range from where Gardner is falling on people's boards. My biggest concern for the Panthers is that cornerback really isn't their biggest issue right now. When you take a look at all of the factors that they have on this defense, it seems like you're just adding too much to the same position. They drafted J.C. Horn last year. They traded for C.J. Henderson. Why are you adding Ahmad Sauce Gardner to a 3rd cornerback position? I think that there's plenty of players you can go after. There's offensive linemen still available. There's skill position players who you might go after. A quarterback could possibly help. I think that there's a lot of issues that the Panthers need to address before cornerback.
Honestly, I'm not that annoyed by this option, right? Sauce Gardner Sauce Gardner is a really big, long, rangy cornerback, and you just got JC Horn, who is a similar style, not as big, but those two could really grow up to be the next elite pairing at cornerback. And I think that's perfect when you go look at who's in their division. You've got Michael Thomas, you've got Mike Evans. These guys need to be covered. And why have one elite corner when you can have two really lock down this field and let Brian Burns get to work? I think that this would really help their defense get to the next level. But moving over to number 7, the New York Giants, taking Charles Cross. So Kayvon Thibodeaux and Charles Cross. Honestly, I don't think the Giants could have a better draft than this. Charles Cross being a top 3 offensive lineman, I think that he'd be a perfect guy to go replace Nate Solder, who's been abysmal. We need to see what Daniel Jones is really made of, and Charles Cross could really help them.
At this point, I like the Charles Cross pick. The guy reminds me a lot of Tyron Smith of the Dallas Cowboys, but there is a guy who's sneaking up draft boards right now, and that's Trevor Penning, the offensive tackle. This guy is an absolute monster. He has been able to just throw around some of the best competition, especially at the Senior Bowl. So I like the pick of offensive tackle. I'm just not sold whether it's going to be Charles Cross or Trevor Penning. At number 8, we have the Atlanta Falcons, and right now, the Falcons are in a bit of a quandary when it comes to the wide receiver role, and Todd McShay has them selecting Drake London, the big-bodied receiver out of USC. This guy is going to be an imposing force. He's going to be one of those guys who can climb the ladder and get the 50-50 balls for any quarterback under center, especially Matt Ryan right now, and with Calvin Ridley dealing with all of the issues, not wanting to be in Atlanta, I think this is the perfect opportunity to replace him as wide receiver 1.
I don't understand this pick, honestly, because there's so many needs for this team. Offensive line, DB, they could go so many different routes. Derek Stingley is still on the board. I'm taking a shot on him, even with the injury history, over Drake London, who I don't even believe is the best wide receiver in this draft class. I don't know why the Atlanta Falcons would go after a guy like Drake London, who has a lot of upside, but is not an elite wide receiver out of the start. Anyway, moving over to number 9, the Denver Broncos taking Devin Lloyd, the linebacker out of Utah. Devin Lloyd is an incredible linebacker. He reminds me a lot of Fred Warner, the speed and agility to move sideline to sideline. You don't find that a lot, and I think with his size at 6'3", that's what you're looking for, and he could help the Denver Broncos. This defense lost a few linebackers. They need to rebuild at this position.
All of their interior linebackers are headed to free agency. Time to rebuild. Devin Lloyd, going to be the perfect opportunity for him to lead the middle of this defense. I like the pick for the Broncos. At number 10, we have the New York Jets on the clock, and they select Derek Stingley. Finally, Stingley going off the board. This is a guy who was projected prior to this season as possibly the number 1 overall pick. The Jets get him at number 10, and the Jets honestly could have taken him at number 4, but they waited, and it came to fruition that they were still able to get him. They need help in the back of this defense, especially with the impending free agency of Marcus May at the safety position. Not really anybody worth of note for the cornerbacks on this team. Robert Saleh's got to get going with some of these draft picks. Derek Stingley will help solidify this defense.
Derek Stingley makes the most sense here, obviously, but is he really going to be on the board at this point? I highly doubt it. The New York Jets would be lucky to get him here at 10, and he would be a really good scheme fit for what Saleh likes to do. Moving over to number 11, the Washington Commanders. First pick as a Washington Commanders. They pick their possible franchise quarterback, Kenny Pickett. I don't hate the pick. I think Pickett has a lot of potential, and he's got some good weapons to work with, Terry McLaurin being the biggest one. It seems like McLaurin's value is dropping just because he doesn't have a quarterback that can play with him. Kenny Pickett would be the guy, and I think that that would be a really solid pairing.
Yeah, I'm just not sold on Kenny Pickett or any quarterback in this draft class for that matter. I don't see a first-round talent with any of these arms, and right now, if you were to tell me that the Commanders were going to take a quarterback, I'm going with Malik Willis, because I know Ron Rivera can develop a scheme that is going to work well for a mobile quarterback, i.e. Cam Newton and his MVP 2015 season. I believe that the pairing of Malik Willis with the Commanders would be much better than what Kenny Pickett brings. Pickett, you see what you get, and with Malik Willis, he's more of a project, but he's going to be more refined and better off as years go on. At number 12, the Minnesota Vikings are on the clock, and we see cornerback Trent McDuffie come off the board. A little early for McDuffie, in my opinion. I think that there's some other corners that could possibly fit the Vikings scheme a little bit better, but McDuffie, all around a solid cornerback, somebody who's going to really lock down the defense for you. He's going to keep people on an island. He doesn't travel well. He stays on one side of the defense, which is why I think that there's other corners that are better suited for the Vikings. Otherwise, Trent McDuffie, an incredible talent. I really like the pick for the Vikings here.
I like that they're going corner, but to me, Trent McDuffie is maybe the 4th or 5th best corner in this draft class. I'd rather go with a guy like Andrew Booth, who offers a lot of versatility, or a guy like Roger McCreary, who is a lockdown man coverage corner, and just because he's a little undersized, people want to pass on him, but he's going to be the next Tre'Davious White. I'd be taking a flyer on those two guys over Trent McDuffie, who isn't as skilled in either man or zone coverage, and you get more out of the two guys I mentioned than Trent McDuffie. I like the position, just not the pick. Moving over to number 13, the Cleveland Browns, going after wide receiver. This is most expected, Garrett Wilson. To me, I believe he is the best wide receiver in this draft class, and it makes sense that the Cleveland Browns would be targeting him here. They need to get Baker Mayfield a weapon who can go vertical, who can go deep, get separation, essentially do everything, because Baker Mayfield is an incompetent quarterback and needs everything done for him. So Garrett Wilson definitely will get the job done here.
I like the pick of Garrett Wilson. I'm not sold on him being the best wide receiver in this draft class. I believe that there's a lot of players that are being undervalued by some of the big names that come out with these draft boards, but otherwise the Browns going wide receiver makes perfect sense. Jarvis Landry cannot do it himself. Donovan Peoples-Jones, he can only do so much, and honestly, this entire offense, whether it's Baker Mayfield or the guys calling the plays, these guys have a lot of issues to work out. Getting a wide receiver might help some of that, but they have a lot of bigger issues to fry in Cleveland. At number 14, we see the Baltimore Ravens selecting Tyler Linderbaum, the center out of Iowa. The Baltimore Ravens are known for their ground and pound offense and defense, their ability to just be hard-nosed, tough, grinded-out team, and they got away from that a little bit. They relied a lot on Lamar Jackson to throw the ball this year, and it did not pan out for them. They went 8-9, missed the playoffs, did not do well at all, and they saw the Cincinnati Bengals pass them up and go to the Super Bowl. Well, it starts with getting that offensive line right after they lost a couple of key players to retirement over the last couple of seasons. It's time to get this offensive line situated. Tyler Linderbaum, great pick for the Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah, I like this pick as well. To me, Linderbaum is an extremely intelligent center who's going to really help Lamar Jackson understand what the defense is trying to do. That way, Lamar is in better situations and can make better plays. This is just going to help the Baltimore Ravens offense all around become more productive. Oh, moving over to number 15, the Philadelphia Eagles with their first pick, going after Nakobe Dean, the linebacker out of Georgia. Nakobe Dean would be a great pick for the Eagles because that linebacking core was abysmal. You've got some players like Josh Sweat who can really become a nice edge help over the next few years as he gets better, but you need somebody in the middle of the field anchoring it down. And Nakobe Dean, arguably the best linebacker in this draft class, he could really help out at this position. I like it.
Yeah, I like Nakobe Dean a lot. He is kind of the 1B when you talk about Devin Lloyd. I think that as an inside linebacker, Nakobe Dean can go sideline to sideline. The only knock on him is that he doesn't always wrap up when he's tackling. I think that can just be coached into him as he progresses through his NFL career. But right now, he's a solid pick, and he's going to be in position to make plays for the Eagles defense. Well, the Eagles get to pick yet again at number 16. The Eagles, with their Indianapolis Colts pick, select Trayvon Walker, the defensive end out of Georgia. While I understand the need for a defensive end, I believe that Trayvon Walker is going way too early in this draft. I believe that the Eagles can use this pick to go after some of the other needs that they have, whether it's another wide receiver to go with Devonta Smith, or what I expect them to do, go cornerback. I believe that there's a lot of corners that they need to pair with Darius Slay. They have a lot of weapons in their division that they have to cover. Slay can only do so much. They have to get him cornerback help on the opposite side, and I fully expect that as you said, Nick, Andrew Booth or Roger McCreary would be perfect fits for the Philadelphia Eagles.
Honestly, I don't mind them going defensive end. This is another situation where the position's good, just not the player. I agree. Trayvon Walker is going way too early. I'd like to go after a guy such as Jermaine Johnson out of FSU. This guy was a bull rusher. He is an extremely powerful edge guy who can play in a 3-4 and help you in the run game. There's a lot to his game that the Philadelphia Eagles could utilize alongside Fletcher Cox and Brandon Graham, who are getting aged. Jermaine Johnson, he's raw talent, but with those two by his side, can learn a lot and become the next big defender for the Philadelphia Eagles. Moving over to number 17. Interesting. Okay, so we got our first trade. Didn't know trades were actually a part of this mock, but Todd McShay has the Pittsburgh Steelers jumping in to the Los Angeles Chargers position to draft their quarterback, and he has them taking Malik Willis. All right, Malik Willis, I'm really high on him. I believe he's got the highest upside out of every quarterback in this draft class. He's got unreal ability as a runner and as a thrower. He's got an incredibly strong arm. Just got to work on the accuracy a little bit. I think with the weapons that the Pittsburgh Steelers have, this would be great. He's just got to get an offensive line. Otherwise, he might have a lot of struggles in year one.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting to watch the progression of the Pittsburgh Steelers with Malik Willis at quarterback, because they've been dealing with Ben Roethlisberger for almost 20 years, and he is the complete opposite of a mobile quarterback. I mean, the man literally stood in one place and threw the ball with set feet. So Malik Willis running around and getting this offensive line situated, ready to go for a quarterback who's going to be on the run. I know they prepare for it twice a year, but it's a little different when you have it on your team. I like the pick of Malik Willis, but we'll see how the Steelers can adapt. At number 18, the Saints, who are also lurking. The reason the Steelers moved up ahead of the Saints to get their quarterback, Matt Corral, the quarterback out of Ole Miss, going to the Saints, being the next quarterback for, Sean Payton. So they have to figure out this offense, and they have a quarterback. Dennis Allen has a lot on his hand. This is his first big test, figuring out who this quarterback is going to be able to learn from, what this offense is going to look like, and Matt Corral, if he fits this system, would be a nice pick, but we got to see who's going to be calling plays for the Saints.
Yeah, Matt Corral has a lot of potential, but in a new system with that team and the salary cap issues they are about to have, they're going to have to unload a lot of their veteran talent that has gotten them far into the season, into the playoffs, and now they're going to be starting from scratch, like you said. I don't know if Corral's the guy, and I don't know if quarterback's the position I'm trying to build around. I try to build up from the offensive line. That's my style. But if Dennis Allen believes that quarterback is the way, then Matt Corral would be the next man up. Going over to pick number 19, the Philadelphia Eagles, with their third pick in the first round, Treylon Burks, the wide receiver out of Arkansas. I'm really high on Treylon Burks. Reminds me so much of Julio Jones, just their physical stature and the way they handle the sideline possessions. He is a go up and getter. He can climb the ladder. He can really separate himself from defensive backs with his long strides and his quickness. So I really like Treylon Burks and what he would be able to do opposite Devonta Smith. I believe it would help Jalen Hurts bring himself to the next level as a passing quarterback.
Yeah, I like the pick of Treylon Burks a lot. I think he would help what the Philadelphia Eagles are trying to do. Again, another issue though, cornerback is going to be a heavy topic for this Eagles team, and not getting one with the first two picks that they have is going to really make them struggle. I like the Burks pick a lot. I think he's going to help this offense with Jalen Hurts under center, but I do believe that the defense needs a lot more work. Moving on to number 20, the Los Angeles Chargers are finally on the clock after their trade with the Pittsburgh Steelers, and they select Jordan Davis, the massive human defensive tackle out of the University of Georgia. This guy is basically two humans put into one, and he acts like it when he's on the football field. This guy takes up 3 blockers without even thinking about it, and he would be the perfect fit for the Los Angeles Chargers. They tried to make this happen with Linval Joseph being in the middle of their defense, but it just did not work out. He is way past his prime, and he has not been able to stop the run like they expected him to. Jordan Davis coming in ready, primed, and ready to go for this team. I fully expect him to be the run stuffer the Chargers have been looking for the last few seasons.
Yeah, there's a couple of things wrong with this defense. They could not stop the run, and, well, they couldn't stop the pass either. We saw that their defensive tackle position, even though they have Linval Joseph, struggled to stop the run. So you're right, Jordan Davis would help in that aspect. But with Andrew Booth and Roger McCreary still available, the Los Angeles Chargers might want to take at the cornerback position first, because you got other defensive tackles in this draft class that can help you do the same thing Jordan Davis does. So I'd be looking at cornerback before I look at defensive tackle. Moving over to number 21, the New England Patriots. Looking at cornerback, going Kyler Gordon out of Washington. Again, as we talked about, Andrew Booth and Roger McCreary way above Kyler Gordon. I would expect Bill Belichick to go after one of those guys well before he goes after Kyler Gordon. This doesn't seem like a pick the Patriots would make in the first round.
Actually, the Patriots pick would probably be a trade into the 7th round and taking some guy out of Germany that we've never heard of and making him an all-pro. That's basically the Patriot way, right? Listen, Kyler Gordon, I'm sure he's a great player. I'm sure he has the ball skills to be able to really, make a difference. But at the end of the day, he wasn't even the best cornerback on his team. Trent McDuffie was. So how is he going to make a difference for a New England Patriots team that has yet to re-sign J.C. Jackson and could end up throwing this guy at CB1? I just don't like the pick. I would much rather see Roger McCreary in this position. At number 22, we see the Las Vegas Raiders selecting Chris Olave, the wide receiver out of Ohio State. Chris Olave, a great pickup for the Raiders. They did lose Henry Ruggs, obviously, to his legal issues. On top of that, they lost Damon Arnett to other issues as well. They got to figure out the wide receiver and cornerback position. They're addressing the first of which right now with Chris Olave, a great speedster who can get separation. This guy has vertical speed. He can really take the top off the defense. A lot of what we saw Deshaun Jackson doing for this team last year, but this guy can actually catch the football. Interesting how that works. I like the pick here, and I like the fit for Derek Carr's offense.
Yeah, I've seen this a few times, and I like it myself. I think Olave would fit what Josh McDaniels is looking to do, and I think that the Las Vegas Raiders desperately need another weapon to go alongside Darren Waller. Moving over to number 23, the Arizona Cardinals on the clock, taking Jermaine Johnson out of FSU. I talked about him earlier when Trayvon Walker was selected. I believe that the Arizona Cardinals definitely could use an edge rusher, a guy on the end, with Chandler Jones and his pending free agency probably not coming back. J.J. Watt is coming back, but we all know how he has his injury history and may not be there all season long. If Kyler Murray does come back, the Arizona Cardinals need to make sure this defense can handle their load, and Jermaine Johnson would definitely help them in a facet of ways. He can get pressure on the quarterback, and he can help you in the run game in a 3-4 package. I think Jermaine Johnson is a great fit for what the Cardinals like to do on defense.
Yeah, I think Jermaine Johnson would definitely help them. And when you take a look, the Super Bowl champs are in their division. They have to get pressure on Matthew Stafford. It starts up front with this defense, and Jermaine Johnson would go a long way in doing that. I know Chandler Jones and J.J. Watt missed significant time this past season. They got to get healthier up front. They got to get younger up front, and that's where Johnson will come into play. I like the pick for the Cardinals. At number 24, the Dallas Cowboys are on the clock, and they select David Ojabo, the defensive end out of Michigan. I'm a big Ojabo fan. I really like what I saw from him. And when you have Micah Parsons, the reigning defensive rookie of the year, and arguably in contention for most valuable player and defensive player of the year, now you're pairing a solid edge player in David Ojabo with him. You're going to have a nasty 1-2 combination on the defensive end for years to come. On top of that, you already have Tank Lawrence available to you. We saw what Trayvon Diggs can do, and he can really help in the coverage. So overall, I love the Ojabo pick, and I think he would really help the Cowboys.
I like the Ojabo pick too, but for me, I'm looking at the offensive line for Dallas Cowboys. We saw Tyron Smith really struggle last season, holding a lot of players. Didn't have a lot of sacks against him, but those penalties sure added up, and we saw how penalized this Dallas Cowboys team was. They got to fix this offensive line in the long term, and I'm looking at a guy like Trevor Penning or Bernard Raymond. To me, those two guys would be nice additions that could help fill the void that Tyron Smith is starting to leave behind. Moving over to number 25, we've got the Buffalo Bills, and they're going cornerback, going with Andrew Booth Jr. out of Clemson. Like I said, a very versatile cornerback, can do a lot in man coverage, can do a lot in zone coverage. He's not elite at either, but he is above average at both and can offer you that versatility. He's not going to shy away. He understands how to play in different packages, and I think that he is one of the most NFL-ready cornerbacks in this draft class.
Yeah, I really like what Leslie Frazier will be able to do with the versatility of Andrew Booth. I think he would complement Tre'Davious White extremely well, and with Levi Wallace set to hit free agency for the Buffalo Bills, they are not expected to retain his services, so insert Andrew Booth as CB2 for this team, and they would be a downright scary secondary to go up against. Moving over to number 26, the Tennessee Titans are selecting George Karlaftis, the defensive end out of Purdue. I really like Karlaftis. I'm not sure that he fits everything the Tennessee Titans are looking for. They already have Harold Landry. They still have Jeffrey Simmons. They have Danico Autry. I mean, how much more do you need to add to this defensive line? I would really like to see them maybe get a little younger at the wide receiver position. You know, Julio Jones isn't going to be around forever. I know that they made that trade last year, but maybe getting somebody in the wings for him, maybe fixing up this defensive backfield. We still have Roger McCreary available. Looking at some of those players, I think that there's much better options than going defensive end for the Tennessee Titans.
I like to see that Karlaftis is actually falling in this mock because he's a guy that was going in the top 15 early on. I think people are starting to realize that Jermaine Johnson does the same thing, just much better, and you'd rather have him over Karlaftis. Nonetheless, the Tennessee Titans should not be looking at this position. They should be looking to fix up this offensive line, which was so terrible last season. They need to make sure that Ryan Tannehill has enough time in the pocket, because we saw in that playoff game, if he does not have enough time, he folds under pressure, and they need to make sure that does not happen again. Moving over to number 27, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers going after Jameson Williams out of Alabama. We know he tore his ACL right at the end of that national championship game, and it's going to be a long road for him back, but Chris Godwin will probably not return to this team. Tom Brady's gone. Mike Evans' future is up in the air, so they definitely need to fill that position and make sure whoever the quarterback is has some weapons to throw to.
Yeah, I like the pick of Jameson Williams. I'm just not sure that it fits the Tampa Bay Buccaneers timeline, especially when you're taking a look at the hope that they have a quarterback in Kyle Trask. I would fully expect them to go after some of the quarterbacks that are still available. I don't necessarily agree that Jameson Williams is the perfect pick, especially when you take a look at he's going to probably miss most of the season coming up, and then he's not going to have that chemistry with the quarterback. I would rather them go with a guy who's going to help them now versus a guy that you're going to have to sit on for an entire year. At number 28, we have the Green Bay Packers selecting Devontae Wyatt, the big defensive tackle out of Georgia. This guy paired with Kenny Clark would be a massive 1-2 combination in the middle of the defensive line. But if the Green Bay Packers are hoping for any chance to lure Aaron Rodgers back to Green Bay, they have to go wide receiver here. There are no ifs, ands, or buts about it. With Jahan Dotson and some of these other wide receivers who are currently available, I would fully expect the Packers to go on the offensive side of the ball here.
Yeah, I agree with you. Wide receiver would be the most obvious position. Al Lazard probably not going back to the Green Bay Packers, and I would expect that in order to get Aaron Rodgers back, you got to make some improvements. So I'm going wide receiver here. I'm looking for the best available, whoever that may be, but Devontae Wyatt definitely not on my mind for this pick. For number 29, we got the Miami Dolphins, and they're going Trevor Penning out of Northern Iowa. Trevor Penning, big left tackle. That could be a big factor for this Miami offense. This Miami offense has been one of the worst in the NFL for a couple of years now, and Tua has definitely struggled behind them. By getting Trevor Penning, you can put him at left or right tackle. He can do either, and that's going to help Tua as they get this offensive line figured out. Hopefully they can start to figure the rest out. Got a new coaching staff. You got to make sure your quarterback is getting a little bit more comfortable.
Yeah, like I mentioned before, I really like Trevor Penning. This guy is a very physical tackle. He has what it takes to just be absolutely dominant with a lot of the defensive ends that he's going to see, especially in the AFC East. I fully expect Trevor Penning to be a difference maker for the Miami Dolphins if he even makes it to number 29. At number 30, though, we see the Kansas City Chiefs on the clock, selecting Jahan Dotson, the wide receiver out of Penn State. This guy is a speedster. He can go up and catch the ball for any ball thrown to him. I really like the pick with Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce, but at the end of the day, this defense is what is holding the Chiefs back from getting back to the Super Bowl. You have to go defense. And it honestly, it doesn't matter what position at this point. You can go corner, you can go safety, you can go inside backer, you can go outside backer, you can go defensive tackle, you can go defensive end. It doesn't matter. The entire defense needs help, and any pick on the defensive side of the ball will be a plus. Any pick on the offensive side of the ball is just doing a disservice to this team.
Yeah, I'm fully on board with what you're saying. And for defense, 3 players that come to mind that I'd take over Jahan Dotson: DeMarvin Leal on the defensive line, you've got Roger McCreary at corner, and you've got Daxton Hill at safety. These are 3 positions that need to get better over wide receiver. Moving over to 31, we have the Cincinnati Bengals going after a tackle. Seems pretty obvious at this point, and they go with the best available, Bernard Raymond. He's a 6'7", 300+ pound left tackle that is just going to be a massive presence, and he has the ability, the versatility to kick inside if needed. This is where we saw this offensive line struggle, so having a guy that size who can play interior and as a bookend, I think that's really what the Cincinnati Bengals are looking for.
Yeah, I mean, the Cincinnati Bengals allowed 55 sacks in 2021, third most amongst NFL teams, and 19 sacks in the 4 playoff games that they played. Not a good look for the Cincinnati Bengals offensive line, and obviously we know how the Super Bowl ended with that infamous Aaron Donald play that really got to Joe Burrow before the time was available, and you know, he had Jamar Chase wide open. He just didn't have the time. Insert Bernard Raymond. I think he's going to be a perfect opportunity to start solidifying this offensive line. And finally, for pick number 32, the Detroit Lions have the Los Angeles Rams pick, and they select quarterback Sam Howell. Sam Howell, a really solid quarterback. Again, I'm not high on any of these quarterbacks coming out in this year's draft. I don't think any of them are top tier players that should be starting week 1. And when you take a look at the needs of the Detroit Lions, I think that they have other needs, other better players that are still available on this big board. Sam Howell's great, but they're going to be picking early in round 2, so wait a little bit to go get your quarterback. You know the Jaguars aren't doing that, so go get somebody else right now that the Jaguars might steal instead, and I would fully expect that to be a guy like Roger McCreary.
Yeah, you've got this one right on the money, because if I'm the Jacksonville Jaguars, I went Evan Neal in the first round and I need to go defense in the second round. So definitely the Detroit Lions should be trying to get that best defensive player available. That way the Jacksonville Jaguars won't. You know the Jags are not interested in a quarterback. Why are you not going after the defense first? Sam Howell, I don't believe in this guy. I don't know why people believe that he's going to be a star in the NFL. He looked pathetic at UNC, and I just don't think anything I've seen on tape is going to translate to the NFL.
Absolutely not. And I believe that Carson Strong is a much better option at the quarterback position, but it should be noted, I understand why Todd McShay would do this, especially with the 5th-year option for first-round draft picks. I just do not agree with going quarterback here. But I want to hear from you guys. Based on Todd McShay's mock draft 2.0, I want to hear from you guys. Let us know in the comments down below what you think of our analysis. Let us know what you think of McShay's 2.0 mock draft. I want to hear from you guys. Let us know in the comments down below. All right, well, that's going to be all for now. Thank you all for watching. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Hit that notification bell. We go live every single day. That'll be all. Peace and love.